keep on plugging away.
Okay. Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I've read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. He is the author of several books, no other than Mr. Simon Bates.
Good morning, Daniel. How are you, mate?
Good morning, Mr. Simon, and as usual, can you please introduce yourself?
G'day, listeners. My name's Simon Yeats. I'm an Australian, lives in the US, and as Daniel said, author of several books. Most of them centre on the trials and tribulations and funny anecdotes that happen when you travel the world and get out of your comfort zone, and just want to experience the world, life, and other people to the fullest extent.
Yes, yes, yes. And most of the books of Mr. Simon's are travel books. So, Mr. Simon, what is the main purpose of your travel book, Dancing with the German Mafia?
This all the stories in this book are stories of things that have happened to me while I've been traveling in Europe. Of the four books I've got, each one centers on on a certain region of the world: uh, Asia, Oceania, Americas, North and South, and then this book on Europe in particular. Probably 5 or 6 trips I've taken to Europe at various times, and the last book is actually just a sort of stories or odds and ends that didn't quite make the other three books, and so there's a sort of a mishmash, bit of a casserole sort of stew effect of the last book with stories from could be anywhere, but the German Mafia book is all about uh, wacky things that have happened to me when I've been in Europe. Uh, sometimes it's because I've been drunk. Sometimes it's because I've been sober and things have just sort of gotten out of hand. Sometimes it's just the fun of being a young person, traveling with your mates in Europe, and you're trying to push the limit with the authorities and skirt the getting in trouble with the locals. Just sort of fun stuff.
So, how do you decide which destinations to include in your travel book?
It was more goes more by stories. I'm very much probably story orientated. Anyone can come along and say can write a story or write a book about Paris. Uh, we were in Paris, went to the Eiffel Tower, did this, that, and I off the top of my head, I actually, I've got one short story in Paris about being in a bar in Paris and actually running into a guy I went to high school with that was completely out of the cuff. Just one of those rare occasions, and a lot of the stories in my books are about the randomness of life that you can be overseas and you can run into uh, a person. And I was actually just this morning chatting with a someone I know in England. He told me a story that when he lived in Australia, he was good mates with an Irishman, and I knew an Irishman, and then didn't keep in contact and went away. And 10 years later, he's at an Oasis concert in Dublin, and he's got lost with his mates from his mates, and so he's walking along trying to find out where he is. Just knocks on a door, a car door window. Guy winds down the window, and it's this mate that he knew from Australia 10 years ago. Just randomly happens to and stories like that just make the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I get goosebumps. It's just you just think, what are the odds of that ever happening? And that's the main story about the German mafia. There is a big random reconnection with a person that is the center of that story. That again just makes it one of my favorite things about. I thought I was never going to see this person again, and somehow through an absolute amazing coincidence, our paths crossed again. And that's what's great about life. You never know what's going to happen.
Yes, you never know what will be happen next. So how do you capture the essence and atmosphere of a place in writing like German Mafia?
Um, that's a great question. I sometimes don't know, and going back and looking at it now, and I'm always thinking about my stories, and as I get better as a writer, or more experienced, or have more, I always think, I could go back and always add in a couple more lines or another chapter, and fill in. you know, a little bit more about the aesthetics of where I were, you know, describe the architecture. I probably don't do that as much as other authors. My stories mainly center on the people and the circumstance rather than necessarily, you know, being too overly descriptive of the area. Most people, you know, I say if you've been to Paris, you don't need me to describe the Eiffel Tower. You want to sort of, you know about the the experience of having all the buskers underneath the Eiffel Tower getting mad at you because you were pissed them off when you sort of told all the bystanders how their game of three card Monte was working, so that they were ripping people off. You know, uh, that 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 sort of quick 5 minute experience is what my stories are about, rather than sort of like necessarily the, you know, describing Paris for page after page, when most people, you know, people who haven't been to Paris probably wouldn't, you know, see it the same way, and they have to get there and see it. And the people who are already in Paris will go, he doesn't need to explain it to me. I've already seen it. I know what it's like. So, you know, I cut to the chase with regards to the interaction with human beings.
Yes. So, what role does research play in ensuring the accuracy and richness of your travel narratives?
I think it's always very, very important, because there are some things, you know, that you know, if I do write a little bit about the history of a place that I mightn't have even realized when I was there, it's I don't want to just make it up. I want to sit there and go, you know what? Hey, if I know that this particular statue that I'm mugged in front of was Christopher Columbus, you know, why was it erected? You know, what's the historical reason about why this particular statue was right there? And if I can find out a little bit of information about that, that can add to the story. And I can tell the readers more often than not, something about that story will actually relate back to some other story, and you almost go, "Wow!" Again, a random coincidence that this statue was built or carved by the exact same guy that carved the statue where I fell down and broke my shoulder when I was in Bulgaria. What are the chances of that happening? And that's sort of, you know, again, I don't want to make that stuff up and say, and have not have people uh, uh, fact check me and go, no, how could that possibly be true? And then say, no, he was lying. He was just lying to make the story. That it's amazing how, when you doing a bit of fact checking or just sort of historical evidence, how, again, paths are crossed with stories from, you know, from 10 years ago, from 15 years ago. That's what makes again, learning and traveling and seeing different places so amazing, because what happens, uh, you know, to you one place can be related to something that happened to you 10 years ago in some other place, and you'll never know unless you go and look and find out.
Yes. So, how do you balance personal experiences with the practical information for the readers?
I am my practical information that when the travel tips that I write are just the spur of the moment when I read the story and go, yeah, what a idiotic thing I did, or what a chaotic situation that I got in. You know, it is my very quick. You know, it can be as simple as, you know, travel tip: don't ever get yourself in this situation. You know, don't be that stupid when you get to the airport, and the guy checking your passport sort of gives you a second look. Turn around and walk back to the gate and jump on a plane and fly out of that country straight away. That's the universe giving you a heads up. Yeah, something bad is going to happen, and if you don't want something bad to happen to you, then leave. But you know, it is just most of the stuff that's happened to me. I could never have, you know, foresee was coming down the pipeline, and so my reaction to it now is always how I feel about it 20 years later, and it's generally to make fun of myself, to say, you know what, you know, there's no way in the world I could have known this was going to happen. So you either have to accept it and ride with it, or, like I say, don't jump on a plane and travel anywhere in the first place, because, you know, things are going to happen, and that's why you're traveling. You're traveling so that things happen to you. You know, the world interacts with you, that people interact with you, that good things happen to you and bad things happen to you. That's why you're doing it. You can't expect that everything's just going to come out perfect.
Very well said, Mr. Simon. Very well said. So, how do you create a compelling narrative thread that connects various locations in your travel book, German Mafia?
Sorry, maybe run that by me again, the start of the question.
Yes. How do you create a compelling narrative thread that connects various locations in your travel book, German
Uh,
Mafia?
Great question. It is. I have spent years, in my dark moments, in my happy moments, thinking back and going, like, wow, those two completely separate stories, scenarios, how they intertwined. Um, uh, you know, the what's the name story, the main story of how to survive making yourself look silly while dancing with the German mafia at a Bavarian nightclub. That story starts in the Rose Bowl in Pasadena at a UCLA USC football game 2 years earlier. That's where the uh, the eventual running into the German mafia in a bar 2 years later started that whole story. The whole link of scenarios that led me to be in that bar started back 2 years earlier in the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, and it is that's actually what I was thinking when I was in the bar in the German Mafia there. I'm like going, how on earth did I end up here? And at the time, I was like tracing the steps back. Why was I here? Why did I do that? Why did that? And it got back to like, yeah, the day that I was at the Rose Bowl and that the drunk guy in front of me was dancing and he was so happy and that's the reason that I'm here right now. And I sort of, that made me first realize like, wow, what an amazing set of coincidences, what an amazing set of circumstances that all these, the butterfly beating its wings in Brazil causes a typhoon in Asia. All those, everything is connected, and this was the connection that I sat there and worked out for 10 minutes to go, wow, that was the path that was travelled um, to get me to this point. And I thought, wow, well, that's just a great story. That's one day one day I'll sit down and write these in a book. And then the next time it happened, I was like, oh my God, wow, let me go back and retrace this scenario back again. How did I end up, confronting the mafia in Bulgaria? What was the set of circumstances that led me to have this happen? And again, it goes back and there's a little piece of the running into the German mafia in Bavaria. If I hadn't run into the Bavarian mafia, I wouldn't have been so cavalier about running into the mafia in Bulgaria. Because that experience wouldn't have given me the insight to say, hey, I've got nothing to be afraid of. If I walk in there with confidence, these guys are probably going to not do anything. And so everything in life is connected, and our job really is to find out what that connection is, celebrate it, enjoy it, and make it help it to make us better people, make the world a better place. That's the point of being on this earth.
Yes. Enjoy. Enjoy life. So, what techniques can you use to describe the culture, food, and people of the places you visit?
Just from your heart, just close your eyes and just you know let go. Um, Sometimes people try too hard, I think, to try. I am very, wow, this meal that I had in Germany, the sauerkraut or whatever. This reminded me of the dinner my mum gave me when the night I found out something bad had happened in my life, and I was really upset. And she cooked me my favorite meal, and it just comforted me so much to have this food. I mean, that feeling is you know it's what I thought exactly at the time. That emotion just pops in your head. So I just write that down. I don't sort of have to sit there and say no, I'm sharing too much with someone or whatever. No, it's just very easy to say, again, to think about my emotions. When was the last time I had this emotion? Oh, it was 14 years ago. The day that my girlfriend left me and I found out that my dog was had cancer, and I remember how devastated I was. Yeah, that's exactly the same feeling I had. You know, back then, exactly the same feeling I had today when I find out my passport's stolen and the police are going to throw me in jail. I mean, that's how you connect things in your life. And I remember all the emotions, all the happiness of everything that's gone on in my life since I was 5 years of age. I've kept a reservoir of all that. So writing is a good way for me to unleash that reservoir of feelings and emotions and experiences so that people again can learn how to connect things in their life and go, wow, that's how it all works. That's what it's all about. It's that was the purpose of why when I was 5 years old my bike got stolen. So when I was 47, and my rental car got smashed, is so that I would react to it in a more appropriate way. It all comes together like that.
So, how do you incorporate historical or cultural context to give depth to your travel writing?
I generally do the historical stuff after the fact. I am not that much of a history buff, so I'm generally very, shrug my shoulders like, here we are at the Taj Mahal, and this was, you know, uh, um, built for the guy that was madly in love with his wife, and I'll generally be like, yeah, okay, yeah, move on, let's have a look at, and then I'll go back later and I'll read the story and go, wow. I probably wish I'd appreciated it more when I was there. But it's always nice to go back and look up the history of where you're at after the fact. And I think there's two ways of doing it: knowing it before you get there, learning about it while you're there, or learning about it afterwards. My general approach in life has always been learning about it afterwards, and it then solidifies the feelings I had, like going, oh, well, that's why I felt that strange sense of like awe, about for something that I didn't even know. It's not like I went in there with any preconceived ideas about, here I am at this war memorial. Like I don't know anything about the history of it. I'm just, wow, I can just feel there's a sense of quite a strong sense of pride and whatever. And then reading about it afterwards, you say, God, that's why that emotion was there. And it's not that I created it or whatever. It just existed because of the place. And I always find that more interesting than going into a place, knowing everything, and then sort of like manufacturing a sense of how I feel. I always feel, and then I go like, let me find out why I felt that way. Oh wow, here's why. Yeah, that was imbued on me without me even knowing it.
So, how do you organize your book? Well, by region, theme, or itinerary?
Each book is by region, and then the itinerary that I tried to stay fairly linearly with uh, the occurrences. This trip was in 1987. These next 5 stories were from that 87 trip. Next trip I took was in 95. Here's the reason why I was going on this trip in 95. Boom, boom, boom. Here are 3 stories from that. Here I am going specifically to Bulgaria in 2014. What's the reasoning behind that? So generally, it's historically, along the lines of as I get older, um, and you know, my attitudes and some things I know tend to develop from the start of a book to the end because I'm gotten a little bit wiser. Know how to work things out a little bit more. The first story, maybe when I'm, I say that my first trip to Europe when I was 30, I was so naive that I actually was amazed when I saw that Germany was green and had green grass, and because I'm still thinking Germany looked like black and white 1940 war movies. And I was like, my God, wow, this country's beautiful. Like, who the hell would ever want to go and invade someone or blow this place up because it's so beautiful. Like, I can imagine blowing it up when it's black and white, but when it's green, it doesn't make any sense to me. Um, and say that's sort of like as you went through life, my naivety and my awareness about things sort of grew. And so when you get to the last story, like suddenly I'm like, yeah, I'm taking Paris by storm, tonight because I'm now 50 years of age and I know, I've got no hang-ups, I've got no fear, no naivety. I know exactly what I'm on about, and I can enjoy Paris as a 50-year-old with world experience rather than a 20-year-old that's like wide-eyed and very nervous.
Very well said. Mr. Simon, so how do you engage readers emotionally, making them feel part of your journey?
Well, I'm sure everyone out there has a friend who's not that bright and always seems to wind up getting in a little bit of trouble. And that would be me, and I'm just sharing my stories of the trouble that I've got into with people I don't know, friends that I don't know, friends I haven't met yet. That one of my themes throughout my books is a stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet. That there is no reason at all to think that you know someone you run into on the street isn't going to be someone you're still chatting with, or sharing stories or a part of your life 20 years later. I've been standing at a train station in Barcelona and said hi to a girl, who was standing beside me. I am still friends with that girl
Until now.
35 years later. I actually, when was it? We went up to Daytona. She was back from Spain, over Spain with her husband. Her parents lived just north of me, about 2 hours. Me and my girlfriend drove up 2 hours to go and have lunch and chat and hang out with her. And this is 35 years, 25 years later. Yeah, because I was 30 at the time when I met her. So 25 years later, we went and catched up, and I caught up with her when I was in Spain 5 years ago. We went out and had drinks in downtown Madrid, where we had sort of hung out with after our train trip from Barcelona, and it was just so much fun catching up. And those sorts of things are experiences that I can tell you, if you've never experienced, they are the bread and butter of life. They make you feel so good as a person, so feeling like, yeah, you have a worthwhile place on this earth when someone that you have met for 5 minutes is still wanting to be your friend and wanting to keep in contact with you 25 years later and wants to hang out and have a beer. It's a special feeling.
Yes, special feeling to connect with other people. So, how do you engage your readers or in to make them more informed in the places that you are featuring?
Um, I again, I just sort of, everyone when they travelled is starting off like going, I don't know much about, uh, and we can't plan what's exactly going to happen. You can plan on having the best trip and have your itinerary set. A lot of times I've travelled, my itinerary has sort of been, making up as I go along, and there's a certain amount of excitement and uh, uncertainty involved with that, and everyone probably doesn't. Everyone who doesn't travel like that probably says, I wish I could have a spontaneous trip, and I'm not a very spontaneous person, so I always like looking back at the times when I was able to let go and say, right, this 3-week trip was pretty spontaneous. I showed up, you know, doorstep of Europe, doorstep of Bulgaria, flying to England for a mate's wedding, and really not having much planned or really know what's going on. And sometimes I've gone with the flow, sometimes I've gone and done my own thing. But it is, the engagement is that people go, what, this isn't a cookie cutter. Yeah, here's everything lined up, and we hit the Louvre at 9 o'clock in the morning, and by 1 o'clock we were in the cafe having our macchiato, and then then that everything was expressly laid out. There was that things change, things happen, things have to be adjusted, and that's again the fun of travel. So hopefully people connect with that, the idea of like, yeah, this is all pretty random and sort of like, but in the end it all works out.
Yes. Certainly, Mr. Simon. But before we go on, I want to invite you to please do purchase one of my Food 101 merchandise. This is the product of our podcast, Food 101, on our fourth season with Chef Alessandro, one of the specialty chef in one of the five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. Please purchase them and name it, and we have it. We have accessory pouch, apron, bento box, bags, and a lot more available on Etsy and Shopify. So, Mr. Simon, how do you determine the right balance between text and visuals like photos, maps on your travel book?
Yeah, none of my books have any pictures or maps, as sort of illustrations. Um, so again, I would encourage anyone just to go Google, read something, and that's what I do. I sometimes remember, what, I was here. What street was I on? What was I did again for the accuracy, historically and geographically. And I love going and say, right, Google Munich. Okay, I know that I was here by this university. Then how did I get to this coffee bar? Oh wow, okay, here was the street. Yes, I know, I remember this street. Yep, I remember making that left hand. Oh yeah, wow, it's all coming back to me. Yeah, wow, and here it is right on the computer. So get out and explore. The Google Earth. I mean, I've gone and looked up um, the Half Dome hike on Google Earth 10 dozen times from the time that I've done it, and I still think I'm dreaming about. Oh, I can't wait to do it again. And now I've seen what it looks like in a bird's eye perspective from the thing. And there's it's I love looking at topography and places, especially the outdoors, from this perspective of Google. And so while I don't include it in any map, but hopefully breeders would sit there and say, "Wow, the way he's described it, I just want to get a sense of what it is like." um, and Google and the pictures are a great way. But I can tell you, there is nothing better than being in the place yourself. And I encourage everyone: buy a plane ticket, travel, go somewhere you've never been before, get outside, get out of your comfort zone. It is an experience that you'll never regret.
You will not regret. So, Mr. Simon, Dancing with the German Mafia, what is the best steps that you can share to our listeners right now?
Again, the title book was me getting out of my comfort zone. You know, uh, it's scary, but once you've done it once, you'll become addicted. I hate being in my comfort zone. I'm very out of my. I'm very discomfort, uncomfortable being in my comfort zone. I like being under pressure. A little bit. My girlfriend and I are going on a trip in a month to go on this really scary hike on a ridge line in Europe. I'm scared of heights. I'm going to be petrified, but I'm having nightmares already about this trip. Again on Google. I'm looking at the pictures just to train myself to not be overwhelmed. But every time I see it, my stomach churns, and I'm like going. But that is why I'm doing it. So when I come back, I can say I did it. I overcame my fear. I overcame my worry. I stepped up to the plate and took a swing. And I say that is what holds so many people back. That sense of, oh, but it won't be good enough or whatever. I say just doesn't matter. Go out there and make it an experience. You know
Go ahead, people. Stop procrastinating.
exactly.
Go, go, go. Enjoy the world. So, Mr. Simon, can you please invite our listeners to support all your books?
Yeah, so there's go to Amazon.com. Simon Yeats is the author. There are 4 travel books. The 5th book, My Second Life, is very, very easy to be able to Google to take you to my author page or to find the books and say just enjoy them. Don't take them too seriously. Don't take yourself too seriously. Don't take life too seriously. We all need a respite from say watching everything that's going on in the news with dock strikes and war breaking out in the Middle East. On the weekend, that we all need a bit of a break from the seriousness of this world because it's all getting a little bit overwhelming at present. And hopefully my books are just the prescription for that.
Mr. Simon, looking forward for more travel books to come. So, Mr. Simon, thank you for your time.
You're welcome, Daniel. Enjoy being here.
But people, see you soon.